Welcome to Tarek Talk, a podcast exploring art, culture, and the stories that shape creative lives. I'm your host, Tarek Mendes, and each episode I sit down with artists and creative thinkers to talk about process, inspiration, and the moments that shape who we become. Thanks for being here. Let's get into today's episode. Welcome back to Tarek Talk. Walking into the Whitney Museum during the 2026 Biennial, you quickly realize that many of the works here are not just about images, they are about histories, systems, and the stories that shape entire regions and communities. The Whitney, with its open galleries and connection to the city, becomes a space where these layered narratives unfold in real time. Curated by Marcela Guerrero and Drew Sawyer, this biennial is shaped by a sense of complexity. It brings together artists whose work reflects the entanglements of the present, political, cultural, ecological, and invites you to move through them not as fixed ideas, but as lived experiences. And Enzo Camacho and Emilie work stands out as a powerful example of that. At first, their sculptural installation draws you in through its form. It takes inspiration from Catholic altarpieces, objects traditionally used in devotional settings, with doors that open to reveal sacred imagery. There's something familiar in that structure, something tied to ritual, to storytelling, to belief. But what unfolds inside is not a religious narrative in the traditional sense. Instead, the artists present a series of scenes that trace over a century of U.S. colonial involvement in the Philippines, alongside histories of resistance by Filipino workers and peasants. The work becomes a kind of historical archive, one that doesn't sit quietly in the past, but feels urgent and present. There's a physical interaction with the piece. Each side of the altarpiece is shown on alternating weeks, meaning the work is never fully visible at once. This creates a sense of incompleteness, of shifting perspective. What you see depends on when you encounter it. History itself becomes something partial, something that unfolds over time. And that gesture is important. Because the histories being addressed here, colonialism, resistance, labor, are not fixed narratives. They are ongoing, contested, and often fragmented. The structure of the work reflects that reality. The scenes themselves move across time. From a 1901 uprising during the Philippine-American War to a contemporary moment, a U.S. spy plane crash in 2025 that killed a water buffalo in a rural province. These events are separated by more than a century, yet they are placed side by side, revealing continuities in power, intervention, and impact. The work asks you to see these connections. To understand that history is not distant, it echoes, it repeats, it evolves. Nearby, their collages extend this exploration. These works emerge from deep research into resistance movements in the Philippines, particularly those connected to farming and land rights. The materials themselves carry meaning. Handmade paper created from plant matter and recycled materials from rural areas becomes the foundation of the work. This is not just an aesthetic choice, it's a conceptual one. The land itself becomes part of the artwork. The materials hold the physical trace of the environments and communities the artists are engaging with. Combined with watercolor, the collages feel both delicate and grounded, intimate and expansive. There's a sense of care in these works. A careful layering of history, material, and image that invites you to slow down, to look closely, to engage deeply. And within the context of the Whitney Biennial, this work resonates strongly. This exhibition is deeply concerned with relationships between nations, between systems of power, between people and land. Camacho and Lien bring those relationships into focus, showing how colonial histories continue to shape the present and how resistance continues to emerge in response. The Whitney space enhances this encounter. Moving through the galleries, you experience shifts in scale, in light, in atmosphere. And when you arrive at their work, there's a grounding, a sense of being anchored in history, even as the exhibition moves through multiple perspectives. You leave their installation with a deeper awareness of how stories are told, of whose histories are centered, and of how art can serve as a space to hold, question, and reimagine those narratives. Within the Whitney Biennial 2026, Enzo Camacho and Emilie's work becomes more than an installation. It becomes a living archive of resistance, memory, and the ongoing struggle to shape a different future. Thank you for spending this time with me on Tarek Talk. If this conversation resonated with you, don't forget to subscribe and share the episode. You can follow along on social media for behind-the-scenes moments, guest highlights, and what's coming next.